Oh, yeah. I got to share this with you. This is another one from Charles Blow. I think it's from today. America's whiniest victim. Quotes around victim. Donald Trump is the reigning king of American victimhood. He is unceasingly pained, injured, aggrieved. The primaries were unfair. The debates were unfair. The general election was unfair. He says, no politician in history, and I say this with great surety, has ever been treated worse or more unfairly. People refuse to reach past his flaws, which are numberless, and pat him on the back. People refuse to praise his minimal efforts and minimal efficacy. They refuse to ignore that the legend he created about himself is a lie. People's insistence on truth and honest appraisal is so annoying. It's also terribly unfair. And it's in this near perfect state of perpetual aggrievement that Trump gives voice to a faction of America that also feels aggrieved. Trump won because he whines. He whines in a way that makes the weak feel less vulnerable and more vicious. He makes feeling sorry for himself feel like fighting back. In this way, he was the perfect reflection of the new whiny right. Trump is its instrument, articulation, embodiment. He's not so much representative of it, but of an idea, which is the waning power of whiteness, privilege, patriarchy, access, and cultural and economic surety that accrues to the possessors of the aforementioned. Trump represents their emerging status of victims in their own minds. The way they see it, they're victims of coastal and urban liberals and the elite institutions, the economic, education, entertainment institutions that are clustered on the coasts. Read LA and New York. They are victims of an economy evolving in ways, both technical and geographic, that cuts them out and leaves them behind. They are victims of immigration and shifting American demographics. They are victims of shifting cultural mores. They are victims of Washington. No one speaks to these insecurities like the human manifestation of insecurity himself, Donald Trump. Donald Trump is their death rattle, that unsettling sound a body makes when death nears. But Trump's whining, Charles writes, is not some clever Machiavellian tactic, precisely tuned for these times. Trump's whining is genuine. It is. He pretends to be ferocious, but he's actually embarrassingly fragile. His bravado is an illusion. The lion is a coward, and he licks his wounds until they're raw. Poor Donald. Now, pour into this hollow man Steve Bannon's toxic apocalyptic nationalism and his professed mission, which is the, quote, deconstruction of the administrative state. And you get a perfect storm of extreme orthodoxy and extreme insecurity. Trump becomes a tool of those in possession of legacy power in this country, and those who feel that power is their rightful inheritance, who are pulling every possible lever to enshrine and cement that power, suppressing the vote, restricting immigration, putting the brakes on cultural inclusion. Make America great again. Turn back the clock to a time when privileges of whiteness were supreme and unassailable. Misogyny was simply viewed as an extension of masculinity. Women got back alley abortions and worked for partial wages. Coal was king, and global warming was purely academic, and trans people weren't in our bathrooms or barracks. In other words, the good old days. And now the power of the presidency is deployed in this pursuit. The only thing that holds the line against absolute calamity is the fact that Trump lacks focus and hates work. Charles writes, I found that a close cousin of extreme caviling is sloth. As Newsweek puts it on this week's cover, he is a lazy boy. Have you seen the cover of Newsweek? Go to newsweek.com and just look at the cover. Oh, Christ. Anyway, Charles goes on, he may keep himself busy with things he considers to be work, but his definition of that word and mine do not seem to be in alignment. Twitter tantrums, obsessive television viewing, holding campaign-style rallies to feed his narcissistic need for adulation. Those things, to me, do not signal competence, but rather profound neurosis. True productivity would leave little space for this extreme protestation on Trump's part. And not only is he a lazy whiner, he's also a projectionist. He's so consumed by his insecurities that he projects them onto others. Trump branded Ted Cruz a liar when he himself would know the truth of it, slapped him upside his goddamn face. I added that part. He blasted Hillary Clinton as being crooked when he himself was crooked. He sneered at Obama's work ethic, among many other things, but Trump's own work ethic has been found severely wanting, to put it mildly, Charles. In 2015, Trump said, quote, "I would rarely leave the White House because there's so much work to be done. I would not be a president who took vacations. I would not be a president that takes time off." Lies. Trump has spent an unseemly amount of time away from the White House playing golf and is at this very moment on a 17-day vacation. Trump is like the unfaithful spouse who constantly accuses the other of infidelity because the guilt of his or her own sins has hijacked their thinking and consumed their consciousness. The flaws he sees are the ones he possesses. This projection of vice, claiming a victimhood, and complaining about vanishing privileges make Trump an ideal frontman for the kind of cultural anxiety, desperation, and anger that disguises itself as a benign debate about public policy. Charles Blow in today's New York Times. But it's also a disguise for something else, and something we've talked about over and over and over in this program. We just talked about it last hour. And that is this irrational fear that so many white people have, that they're going to lose something that they won't even goddamn admit exists. This part drives me crazy. You ask this is a generalized statement, but if you ask the average white person, or if you want to get more precise, the average white Trump voter, what are the challenges to his whiteness? And why is he afraid of it? I don't think you would get a coherent answer. I don't think you get an answer at all. What is it that these whites are afraid of? You know, white people, so-called, on this planet are already a minority racial group, if you believe in racial divisions, which a lot of us don't. But if you do accept racial divisions, then globally, whites are already a minority. And whites in this country, I think within the next 5 years, if that long, or maybe a little longer, I don't know, but very quickly, whites are going to become a majority minority, which means that by numbers, whites will still have greater numbers than this group, that group, or the other group that are non-white, but those groups taken together will equal more, a larger number, than the whites themselves. Now, I don't know who would consider themselves to be white. I know in my family, my mother wasn't considered white back in the day because she was Italian, or Italian. You an Italian? So who would be considered white? That's what I don't understand partially. I mean, I do get this psychotic fear of these militia pricks, and these white people are just terrified. And if you ask them what they're afraid of that will be taken away from them, they can't answer. Some of them might say, well, a job. Well, fucker, you have a job. Or you haven't worked in 8 years by your choice. You've been drawn disability for a phony back situation. What do you mean, take away your job? What the fuck are you talking about? You afraid they're going to come and get your woman? Ah, now we're getting closer to the meat of it, so to speak, right? Is that what white men are afraid of? What about white women? What are they afraid of? Or are they just parroting their dumb shit husbands because they know if they don't, they might get beaten up? I don't know. I don't live in that fucked up world. But what is it that these white people are afraid? Are they afraid that the Mexican immigrants are going to take away from the white's lawn mowing job? Is that what you're afraid of, Bubba? I mean, you're out there every fucking day at 7:30 in the morning with your... You're afraid the Mexican's going to take that away from you? You piece of shit. You haven't done that in 30 years. You either made your children do it or you hired one of those Mexicans, as you call them, Mexicans. So what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of, Bubba? You're just eaten up with fear, though. That is so obvious. If you think you're hiding your cowardice, you're fooling yourself. You really are. Even your white brothers that you hang out with, these other assholes that form these militia groups, they're just as afraid as you are. So y'all get together in these little clutches of fuckwads with your guns and your neo-Nazi symbolism and your phony little outfits, and you convince each other, we're going to be powerful. We're going to make America great again. Oh, fuck you. No, you're not. You're not going to make America great again. You're going to make an effort to turn this country into a fascist state. But let me tell you something, Bubba. In the explicit definition of the word great, this country was never great. This country was genocidal. It was racist. It committed fucking war crime after fucking war crime, even up to this new century. It's been going on forever. What is great? And what is it that you want Trump to do? What is it that you want him to do? You have no fucking idea. You go to these little campaign-style rallies he has, and you sit there with your little dipshit hat on, and you scream and yell while he's talking about shit that he would no more involve himself in than open a vein in his arm. He doesn't give a goddamn hoot in hell about you. Where is he now? He's off at one of his multi-million, billion-dollar golf clubs playing golf for 17 days with his upper-class 1%er buddies while you're sitting down in some fucking hovel in West Virginia going, God damn, I sure was glad to see Trump last night. Boy, I'm glad I voted for him. What's for dinner tonight? Library paste again? Oh, shit. Jesus. Yeah, library paste. I'm tired of library paste. I'm going to go out back and shoot me some squirrels. Jesus, God, I can't take this. You know, I feel like I've fallen into an endless Saturday Night Live skit. I wish it were that simple, frankly.